Hi everyone, I hope you're doing great today. So something very amazing happened on the second day of June 2020. I mean, as I read through this document, I don't know, occasionally I would just burst out laughing like it's not real, it's too good to be real. And sometimes I feel like it's almost like I'm in denial, like this is not true. On the second day of June 2020, in the midst of all the chaos that had enveloped the United States of America, after George Floyd was murdered in the United States, and there was just chaos everywhere, destruction of lives and properties and all kinds of stuff, violence, protests. Can you believe that in the middle of all of that chaos, in the middle of all of these cataclysmic events, President Donald J. Trump actually just handed a powerful gift to religious people, to Christians all over the world. All the people who are being persecuted, they just got a powerful gift from President Donald J. Trump. Did you hear that Trump just signed an executive order on international religious freedom?
Last week, President Trump signed the first ever executive order that instructs the entire U.S. government to prioritize religious freedom. Here at the State Department, I've hosted the Ministerial to Advance Religious Freedom now twice. We've launched the International Religious Freedom Alliance. We've trained our foreign service officers to understand religious freedom issues much more deeply. And today I'm proud to release the 2019 International Religious Freedom Report. The Nicaraguan government harasses and intimidates religious leaders and worshipers and desecrates religious spaces, often using proxies. In Nigeria, ISIS and Boko Haram continue to attack Muslims and Christians alike. ISIS beheaded 10 Christians in that country just this past December.
In nearly every video that I have made, I've talked about how that my number one concern has always been religious persecution. In Nigeria, we have these people called the Fulani herdsmen. They have been killing Christians in their thousands for years now. They go into predominantly Christian communities and wipe every single thing there out. They kill both humans and animals and take over the land. It's not just that they kill and they take over the land. This has been going on for years in Nigeria. We have video evidences of communities that have been wiped off completely by this invading army of marauding herdsmen. No outcry, no protests. Mainstream media silent. Nobody's talking about it. Christians are just meant to keep on dying. For the first time in U.S. history, religious freedom is now made a very powerful and integral part of the U.S. foreign policy initiative. It says Executive Order on Advancing International Religious Freedom. So it says, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered as follows. And we're going to go straight down to section 2. Prioritization of international religious freedom. He said, within 180 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of State, Secretary, shall, in consultation with the Administrator of the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, develop a plan to prioritize international religious freedom in the planning and implementation of United States foreign policy and in the foreign assistance programs of the Department of State and USAID. Within 180 days, in consultation with the Administrator of the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, which is a U.S. arm that handles all of their foreign policy, most of their foreign policy initiatives. USAID. So now they're going to have to work with the USAID to develop a plan to prioritize international religious freedom in the planning, number one, and the implementation of United States foreign policy and in the foreign assistance programs. So they are making it a priority. For the first time ever, the United States of America is making international religious freedom a priority. And this has to be worked into the fabrics of the operations of the U.S. aid. This has been ordered, and that is Section 2. Let's go further. Section 3. It says foreign assistance funding for international religious freedom. The Secretary shall, in consultation with the Administrator of U.S. aid, budget at least $50 million per fiscal year for programs that advance international religious freedom to the extent feasible and permitted by law and subject to the availability of appropriations. Now listen to what comes after. It says, such programs shall include those intended to anticipate, prevent, and respond to attacks against individuals and groups on the basis of their religion, including programs designed to help ensure that such groups can persevere as distinct communities, to promote accountability for the perpetrators of such attacks, to ensure equal rights and legal protections for individuals and groups regardless of belief, to improve the safety and security of houses of worship and public places for all faiths, and to protect and preserve the cultural heritages of religious communities. Okay, so the Secretary of State is going to work together with the Administrator of U.S. aid to actually budget at least $50 million per fiscal year for programs that will advance religious freedom. Remember some time ago when I announced to us that President Donald Trump has actually created a coalition of nations, an international coalition against religious persecution. And Nigeria was listed in one of the nations, the countries of concern. Because the killing in Nigeria would not stop. The killing in Nigeria would not stop. You know what Donald Trump did? Donald Trump decided it was time for America to take a broader action. And the broader action they chose to take was that Trump admin just recently announced that they have formed a global alliance to defend religious liberty. This happened. You won't see it a lot in the news. Check it out. Just Google it. Look it up. It's on LifeSite News and so many other ones. CNN will never tell you that. Trump admin had actually formed a global alliance to defend religious liberties. And Nigeria was mentioned as one of the spots where the defense is going to take place. You think I'm joking, right? Nigeria was mentioned. I'm going to give you a list of the countries involved in that alliance. We have Albania, Austria, Bosnia, Brazil, Bulgaria, Colombia, Croatia, Czech Republic, Estonia, the Gambia, Georgia, Greece, Hungary, Israel, Kosovo, Lithuania, Malta, the Netherlands, Poland, Senegal, Slovakia, Slovenia, Togo, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom. United Kingdom grudgingly was dragged into it, because if you notice, the rest of the NATO allies from Western Europe, they did not get involved, because these are the people who had colonized Africa and are holding Africa down. These are the people who are the brains behind the Christian religious persecution going on, because the killings by the Fulani herdsmen are done at the instance of the colonial powers of Europe. That's why when Trump is forming a global alliance against religious persecution, they will not be a part of it. There's a statement here, and it says the Declaration of Principles offers reactive and proactive measures for the members to use to protect freedom of religion around the world. Listen, let me read it again. It says the Declaration of Principles of this alliance actually offers reactive and proactive measures for the members to use to protect freedom of religion around the world. Reactive means something is happening somewhere. They went for intervention because something happened somewhere. That's reactive. Proactive means they got an intelligence that something is about to happen, or that Boko Haram or whatever is killing too many people in some area. They can decide on their own to send soldiers to go there and intervene. Reactive and proactive measures. This is an alliance set up by Donald Trump to protect me and my people. Now, that international coalition against religious persecution is going to need some resources to actually carry out the activities they need to carry out to prevent or to actually forestall a religious persecution activity in any country of interest. One of the programs they are going to create through the US aid is a program that is intended to anticipate an attack, say by Fulani herdsmen on churches or Christians. It is meant to also prevent an attack by Fulani herdsmen on our Christian bodies in Nigeria. It is also meant to respond to the attacks against individuals and groups. So this is huge. They will anticipate it and plan against it, and then they will also prevent, and they will do what? They will respond to any such attacks. In other words, US aid is being empowered now to pursue anybody who is ready to go and destroy another person on the basis of their religious affiliations. Can you imagine what just happened? It's not trending in the news. Nobody's talking about it. The biggest news ever for anybody who is a Christian in Africa today, where the biggest persecution of Christians is taking place as we speak outside of China. And Nigeria tops the list. Burkina Faso, Mali, CAR, Central African Republic. And then you talk about what is happening to also the minorities in Cameroon. The US aid is being empowered to respond to all this wickedness. So let's go forward. And then he says, ensure that such groups can persevere as distinct communities, to promote accountability for the perpetrators of such attacks, to ensure equal rights and legal protections for individuals and groups, regardless of belief. This program is also going to ensure that the governments that are responsible for all these attacks, the communities, the groups, the ethnic minorities or majorities that are responsible for attacking other people on the basis of their religion, that they are held accountable. This is not just word of mouth. The man is backing it up with some American cash. Part of the money that was given to WHO to mess us up, he has already defunded WHO, and I'm sure part of that money is what he's now using to defend Christians. They have to defend Christians being massacred in Nigeria every day. And yet, we Christians do not understand what is going on. This one also politics. It's everything he does. Oh, he's playing politics. Is this now also politics? To improve the safety and security of houses of worship and public spaces for all faiths, and to protect and preserve the cultural heritages of religious communities. Did you hear what I just read? The program that USAID is going to develop will include to improve the safety and security of houses of worship. Not just for Christians, for even Muslims too, maybe Shia Muslims. So their program will ensure that churches are protected from people who would seek to invade and attack worshippers there. Protect security, safety and security for houses of worship. Not for America. This is international. You tell me this man is playing politics with this? This is it. There's a trajectory. He has the records. I've been giving you all the updates from day one since he started fighting to protect people who are persecuted on the basis of their religion. I have always given you updates. I have too many videos out there. And this is this is a progress that has been made. And this is almost like the icing now on the cake. But it's not over. It's not, we haven't stopped yet. Let's go to section 4. Section 4 says, integrating international religious freedom into the United States diplomacy. Listen to this. The Secretary shall direct chiefs of mission in countries of particular concern, like Nigeria. Countries on the special watch list, of course, like Nigeria, because Nigeria is on the special watch list, okay? Countries in which there are entities of particular concern, Nigeria. And any other countries that have engaged in or tolerated violations of religious freedom as noted in the annual report on international religious freedom required by section 102B of the International Religious Freedom Act of 1998, Public Law 105292, as amended the act to develop comprehensive action plans to inform and support the efforts of the United States to advance international religious freedom and to encourage the host governments to make progress in eliminating violations of religious freedom. Big grammar, let me break it down. The Secretary shall direct the chiefs of mission, U.S. mission in Nigeria, U.S. mission in Ghana, U.S. mission in Gambia. The Secretary will direct all the chiefs of these missions, these embassies, okay, in the countries of concern like Nigeria, for instance, okay? And then what he's going to do is that he's going to tell them to develop comprehensive action plans to inform and to support the efforts of the United States to advance international religious freedom and to encourage the host governments like Nigerian government to make progress in eliminating violations of religious freedom. So when we talk about religious persecution in Nigeria, we are no longer now saying maybe we should just write to the US to see whether they would do something. America has made it an integral part of their foreign policy initiative. In other words, going from this moment on, from the 180 days of signing this document on June 2, which means by December, this will be fully activated. US Embassy in Nigeria, in the countries of concern like Nigeria, in the nations that are on watch list, will now have to begin to get directly involved in issues that have to do with religious persecution in Nigeria. Can you imagine this happening exactly at the same time that the Fulanis have a mega plan, blueprint to overrun the entire nation and Islamize the whole country? Think about this. And there's literally nothing that anybody can do about it. We can only make noise, scream and shout. When we finish, we'll go home and be watching the news as the Fulanis take over our lands. Can you see that? It's no longer hear, say. This is action now. The US aid has got money. They have got power. They have got the authority of the president. The mandate of the president of the United States of America to get involved in issues that have to do with religious persecution. And so what it means now is that any case of Fulani invasion of your land as a Christian community in Nigeria, you have the right to go straight to the United States Embassy, consult with the US aid, and they will make sure they get involved in any way, shape, or form to prevent an attack, to respond to an attack, and to make sure that you are safeguarded, even to the point of bringing safety and security around the places of worship, your churches. They have resources to do that, to make sure that your churches are protected against attackers. This is B. In meetings with their counterparts in foreign governments, the heads of agencies shall, when appropriate and in coordination with the Secretary, raise concerns about international religious freedom and cases that involve individuals imprisoned because of their religion. All those people who are thrown into jail because they are Christians or because they are whatever religion they belong to, they are going to be raised. Mind you, this is not just only for Christians. It's just that in Africa, Christians are the ones who bear the brunt of almost every case of religious persecution. But this is not just for Christians. Like, for instance, the Shia Muslims and all that. This man is doing this also to protect other people from other religions who are being persecuted on the basis of their religious belief. That's the man that CNN wants everybody to hate to death today. Cast aspersions on him, all kinds of nonsense. Let's go to section 5. Training for federal officials. The Secretary shall require all Department of State civil service employees in the Foreign Affairs Series to undertake training modeled on the international religious freedom training described in Section 708A of the Foreign Service Act of 1990, Public Law 96465, as amended by Section 103A1 of the Frank R. Wolf International Religious Freedom Act, Public Law 114281. Do you see what this man is saying here? All the people who work with the United States Foreign Affairs Series, all the state civil service employees with the United States Foreign Affairs Series, all of them will undergo a mandatory training modeled on the international religious freedom. Freedom. You will go through a training because you are going to be a part of the U.S. foreign missions. You must go through a training. Let me read you further so you understand what this is all about. Within 90 days of the date of this order, the heads of all agencies that assign personnel to positions overseas shall submit plans to the President through the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, detailing how their agencies will incorporate the type of training described in subsection A of this section into the training required before the start of overseas assignments for all personnel who are to be stationed abroad or who will deploy and remain abroad in one location for 30 days or more. This is one of the most profound statements I've ever read in my life, coming from a U.S. leader. This man is saying that if you are a person who is to be posted to any U.S. mission abroad, even if it is for a period of 30 days, you have to be trained on international religious freedom. You must, okay, listen, let me follow you now. He said, within 90 days of this, the heads of all agencies that assign personnel, all the agencies that assign people to foreign missions, positions overseas, shall submit plans to the President through the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, detailing how the agencies will incorporate the type of training described in subsection A of this section into the training required before the start of overseas assignments. So they have to detail the kind of training that the staff they are sending overseas will be subjected to before they are posted overseas. The President has to see it within the next 19 days. So this training is a training to show that before you are posted outside of the United States of America to go to any foreign mission, you must be well versed in the issues that have to do with religious freedom. You are already like an ambassador of religious freedom before you qualify even to be posted to any foreign U.S. mission. This is happening. To me, it's almost like it's not true, but it is happening for real. Okay? And so, in rounding this up, this is how it's rounded up here. Section 6 says, economic tools. The Secretary and the Secretary of the Treasury shall, in consultation with the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, and through the process described in National Security Presidential Memorandum 4 of April 4, 2017, Organization of the National Security Council, the Homeland Security Council, and subcommittees develop recommendations to prioritize the appropriate use of economic tools to advance international religious freedom in countries of particular concern like Nigeria, countries on the special watch list like Nigeria, countries in which there are entities of particular concern like Nigeria, and other countries that have engaged in or tolerated violations of religious freedom, as noted in the report required by Section 102B of the Act. These economic tools, first of all, let me explain to you before I go to the next paragraph. They shall develop economic tools that will be used to advance international religious freedom in a place like Nigeria or any other country that is on the U.S. special watch list. or any other notorious country where people are being persecuted on a daily basis because of their religious belief. He said the US government and this team that he named are going to develop a lot of economic tools that the government will use to advance it in those nations. And know when they say economic tools, you know what it means? Weapons, economic weapons they are going to use to suppress or to harass governments that will continue in the act of religious persecution. Let us look at what those economic tools may be. It says, these economic tools may include, as appropriate and to the extent permitted by law, number one, increasing religious freedom programming. Number two, realigning foreign assistance to better reflect country circumstances. Number three, or restricting the issuance of visas under Section 604A of the Act. Did you see that? Increasing religious freedom programming. A lot of programs, we don't know what these programs are, may be increased. Watch out in Nigeria from December. You're going to see a lot of religious freedom programs like the ones stated here that will become a way of life in Nigeria. Number two, you're going to see realigning foreign assistance. The foreign assistance that America gives to Nigeria could be realigned, and realignment means they could move it away and stop it altogether or direct it to people who have been injured through religious persecution, and the government will not be able to get that money anymore. Just like the US government had already defunded WHO and pulled their funding from there. And I believe probably, like I said before, that may be where this 50 million is coming to us from now. And then the next thing is that they could also restrict the issuance of visas. In other words, they can now pick a few officials who have been identified as some of the sponsors of the religious persecution going on in that nation. They will pick them and they will deny them visas. This is economic pressure that they will put on the nation. That's not all the pressure that they're going to put. Remember, they've talked about being able to anticipate, being able to respond, to react when there is a religious persecution in the making. They also talked about protecting, giving security and safety to the houses of worship. This one is just added to all the things that the president wants to do to promote religious freedom. Every person alive today, if you are African, especially if you're Nigerian, Cameroonian, from wherever you are, Burkina Faso person, you should be rejoicing now that God has finally remembered us. Imagine when a nation as huge and big as the United States of America has made religious freedom a very strong, integral part of their foreign policy. Imagine what happens next. This is freedom for us. You see why every day I am yelling and screaming and telling people to wake up. Let us support President Donald J. Trump. I don't know how many people will listen to all this and say that this is just politics. Are you going to also call this one politics? Are you going to say he's playing politics with this? Something that nobody else has ever thought of doing for us. This man is going to do it. Why would we not support this man and make sure he's re-elected? Is it not religious persecution and division that the colonial powers have been using to keep us apart, to keep on killing ourselves while they are sucking away the resources in our continent? Today, a man comes from the Washington, D.C. to say, this has got to stop. This is why they hate him. This is why the colonial powers hate him. This is why China hates him. Because Chinese people are waiting to take over Africa. With this that he has done now, he has cut short the lifespan of their plan to Islamize and take over our continent. Remember, there is a very huge plan to take over the entire Africa, to Islamize it by jihad. And the number one starting point footing for them is Nigeria. Because the moment they gain access to all the resources of Nigeria, they can fund any Islamization program anywhere in Africa. And imagine America now saying not just that they are going to be advising, they are actually practically getting involved in the process to stop this madness. Maybe we have a friend in Donald J. Trump, and I think it is time for every Christian to pray for him and trust the Lord for another 4 years of this great, wonderful administration. Thank you, and may God bless you.